Hi, it's Dr. Z. This week we will learn about classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and observational learning. In essence, we are learning about learning. Let's get started with the overview. By the end of this week, you'll be able to complete these district course competencies and learning objectives. For this week, please watch the overview video and view this week's activity checklist. This chapter is separated into 3 sections. The first section is classical conditioning. I also refer to classical conditioning as CC for short. Classical conditioning was developed by Ivan Pavlov. What surprises many students is that Dr. Pavlov was not a psychologist. He was a medical doctor who was studying how stomachs digest food and how we salivate in response to food. Sexy, huh? In fact, Dr. Pavlov discovered classical conditioning through a happy accident when conducting a study on the salivation of dogs. In its simplest form, classical conditioning is learning by association. Please read the designated pages in the textbook and complete the Nearpod lesson. This week's activity expands on the concept of classical conditioning. In the experiment, Can Anyone Be Trained?, students, just like you, conducted experiments to show learning by association in real life. Please watch the following 4 experiments first. Then see the table below for your assigned experiment to complete the activity handout. This activity will prepare you for discussion board number 4. The second section is operant conditioning, or OC for short. Have you ever been punished by a parent or teacher because you did something wrong or inappropriate? Or have you ever been rewarded for good behavior, like helping out with your siblings or for getting good grades? If any of these situations have happened to you, you were learning through operant conditioning. In its simplest form, operant conditioning is learning by consequences. By getting punished for saying something inappropriate in class, your teacher may have taken away your recess as a consequence for your behavior. Operant conditioning was developed by B.F. Skinner. You will learn more about him and how he developed the Skinner box to test his theory of operant conditioning. Please read the designated pages in the textbook and watch the assigned videos. I have created a lecture video here on reinforcement and punishment that will prepare you for application paper number 4. The last section is observational learning, which is part of cognitive learning. Cognitive is just a fancy word for thinking or thoughts. In other words, cognitive learning is about how we develop higher level thinking or thought processes. Please read the designated pages in the textbook and watch the assigned videos. I do want to share a fun fact about Dr. Z and Albert Bandura. I attended Stanford University when Dr. Bandura was also a professor at Stanford. I was fortunate to enroll in a senior seminar from Dr. Bandura. Senior seminars were limited to 10 students, so we got quality one-on-one time with the founding father of social learning theory and the self-efficacy theory. It was an awesome course. Let's go to our assignments this week. The first assignment is the Nearpod lesson. This Nearpod lesson reviews the material on classical conditioning. The second assignment is discussion board number 4 on classical conditioning. After completing the activity this week called Experiment, Can Anyone Be Trained?, you're going to evaluate the classical conditioning experiment to which you were assigned. In your individual response, please describe the experiment, identify all the key parts of classical conditioning, and then explain how you would continue this study on your own. The third assignment is the chapter quiz. I encourage you to spend time understanding the difference between classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Students often mix these up. Finally, the last assignment this week is application paper number 4. Question 1 will review classical conditioning and how it applies to yourself. Question 2 will review operant conditioning and how we can apply it to yourself. Question 3 is a reflection on Albert Bandura's Bobo doll studies. And then question 4, as always, is your wow moment for the week. Now, if you've gotten this far, I will reward you with extra credit. If you want to earn extra credit points, submit the name of the professor that I took a class with from Stanford University and extra credit Easter eggs on Canvas. And with that, you will have successfully completed this week's module. I look forward to reading your awesome assignments this week.